From Chesapeake, Virginia, WHKT presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Now here is Greg Bicouvaris.
All right, thank you very much, Joe Daniel. We are live as always, Sports Scene, an interview show each Wednesday from 12 to 1. Also invite you to watch sports highlights on nnpstv.com. Tell your friends about gjbtv.com, Twitter at Greg Bick. You can see the rest of the Twitter handles on gjbtv.com in the contact section. Thank you to our military for what you do 24/7. Guest lineup presented by Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville. Our featured guest today is Adam Winkler, the sports director at Channel 3. Sponsors on gjbtv.com, marketplace sponsors, as well as Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com. Browse, shop, and visit. Guest lineup presented by Mi Casita Mexican Restaurant with 2 locations in Virginia Beach. Phone line presented by the Newport News Greek Festival Fall Edition, October 19th through the 21st. Show overall is presented by hrsmhof.com. Cowboys, Steelers, Eagles, Ravens all look good in week 1, not the Redskins. Of course, Old Dominion's got an excellent game coming up this week, and Virginia Tech keeps rolling on. Alabama, as always. Great interviews, business segments, highlights, commentary, what teased me off. Thank you for making the habit to listen to Sports Scene weekly, and we love our regulars, newcomers, and tourists as well. Adam Winkler from News Channel 3 after these messages on Sports Scene.
Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to gjbtv.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris.
And welcome back to Sports Scene. Adam Winkler segment brought to you by Sakura Japanese Restaurant, Sushi Bar, Takeout, Dine-In. They deliver, orderup.com, Walmart Way Crossing in Chesapeake. Give Jasmine and them a call at 410-4577 for excellent Japanese cuisine. Adam Winkler, welcome, my friend, from News Channel 3. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me. I heard the intro, nationally acclaimed guest. I guess this isn't one of those weeks.
You are. You are. With the internet, everybody's nationally acclaimed now.
I know. This is really cool. I appreciate you having me in.
Well, first of all, you work at News Channel 3, but tell us about your background, how you got started in TV and broadcasting.
My first gig was in Monroe, Louisiana in 2004. Kind of like John, when you ask me where I'm from, I can either pick Houston or New Orleans. I grew up in Houston, was born in New Orleans, have plenty of family in New Orleans. So my first job in Monroe, Louisiana, close to New Orleans, 3 hours north, was there from 2004 to 2007. Covered Louisiana Monroe, Grambling, Louisiana Tech, LSU, the Saints. Was there when Katrina hit. That was obviously life-changing, career-changing. Went from Monroe, Louisiana to Waco, Texas. Was there for 3 years. Covered RG3 in high school. Covered RG3 at Baylor. And then went down to Austin, Texas. Was in Austin for 6 years. And then came to Hampton Roads July of last year and been loving it ever since.
Yeah, very good. And you mentioned how the weather has impacted your life already. You talk about Katrina back in 2005, and then, of course, Irma and what happened in Houston. I'm sure that hit home literally.
It did. You talk about a helpless feeling being over here in Hampton Roads, watching your hometown be underwater. I mean, total devastation. Knock on wood, blessed to say that my family was fine. No water in my parents' house, no water in my brother's house. My high school was messed up. My church was destroyed. So many people are going through so much. But while it was such a helpless feeling being over here, watching the resolve of Houston, watching people rally around and support Houston and the entire Gulf Coast region, Rockport too, and Beaumont and Lake Charles, it helped out. And so seeing what Florida's going through with Irma, it makes me want to remind folks, hey, everybody pitched in to help Houston recover. Let's do the same for Irma. And if there's God forbid, an earthquake on the West Coast, we all need to do our part, because it was really, really neat to see everybody pitch in to help my hometown.
Yeah, because let's talk about Houston. That's a big city. I've been there before. Great barbecue, by the way.
Thank you.
And, of course, they were famed for the Oilers for all those years. But let's talk about it. So it's such a big city. Some parts did not get hit hard as the others because the Texans still played as well.
Just Houston is sprawling. I mean, it's the fourth largest city in the country. I grew up on the northwest side. We were the city. The parts of the city that were messed up were the parts near the bayous, the parts near the creeks. Luckily, the creek in our neighborhood did not come out of its banks. The same couldn't be said for the part of the creek by our church. So we were on the northwest side, but it's just so many pockets of town, very similar to Dallas-Fort Worth, where people that say they're from Dallas, nobody's really from Dallas. You're from a pocket of Dallas or Fort Worth or Arlington. I grew up in Spring, Texas, Klein High School. So it's the northwest side of town, but pockets southwest like Katy, a lot of people know them for their high school football, really got messed up. The southeast side wasn't as lucky. Kingwood, which is the northeast side, different pockets of town, whereas downtown Houston was okay outside of the Buffalo Bayou part. So because it is such a big city, parts were spared, but when you have that many millions of people, when you have 60% affected, that's going to total a lot.
And Watt really was an overwhelming presence.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, you talk about, he takes so much heat, as you guys know, for, being very public and being a lot of, hey,
flexing the muscles.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, look at me. But because he is such a look-at-me guy, he went from having a goal of $200,000 to $30 million. And it's going back to the folks that support him and the folks in his hometown. And the guy can never make another tackle. The guy could never have another sack. And he will be a Houston hero for what he did.
Talking to Adam Winkler, Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us. He's with News Channel 3. And before we get into sports and so forth, a good friend of mine, Janice, lost her puppy recently, her Yorkie. And, of course, she related to you losing Oscar. Talk about Oscar.
I appreciate you asking about Oscar. Oscar was my wife and I had two dogs, Griffin and Oscar. Oscar was a Dorkie, a Dachshund Yorkie mix. So picture a weenie dog with a Yorkie face, kind of a duck-billed platypus of the puppy generation. But he lived almost 11 years. He had a really good life. I adopted him when I was in Waco, so he was about 3.5 years old when I rescued him, and he was a house cat. Didn't like to play with toys. Didn't like to play with other dogs. All he wanted to do was just snuggle up, watch sports through his eyelids because he was sleeping, and just he was just a really loyal dog. What I always wanted. I'd come home from work at midnight, 1 a.m. after the late show, and he'd find a little energy, and just he was a really good companion. And he had cancer, the tumors. We know they would come back, and they came back. We thought we would only have him for about 6 or 9 months after the diagnosis, which was in 2011. So we had him for quite a bit of borrowed time. But I appreciate you asking about our fuzzy fella Oscar.
Right, may his memory be eternal. All right, let's talk about what you've covered so far. The Redskins have been a big part. What have you learned in the 1 year about Hampton Roads? So you've been here 1 year plus.
The number one thing I hear from people not around here that still follow me, whether it's from Texas or Louisiana, it is stunning the number of successful pro athletes that are from here. And I knew that coming in. Obviously, I knew about, the Vicks and the Uptons, guys like that. But David Wright, Ryan Zimmerman, all the coaches, it really is mind-boggling. I mean, you look at people that have a connection here. I mean, a Verlander connection. Sean McDermott with the William & Mary connection. It is fascinating that we can find connections of guys that either grew up here or spent significant time here. And I feel like that is what makes this market so fascinating. It is such a transient area because so many people come and go. They might not have a local team. They might not be Redskins fans. They might not be Old Dominion grads. But chances are you watched one of these famous athletes or coaches play at some point, so you've got a little loyalty there. So that's my number one takeaway, without a doubt.
Not to mention Sweet Pea Whitaker, the boxer.
Right. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a major sport. I mean, NASCAR drivers, motorsports. I mean, people that have come for the surfing championships in Virginia Beach. It really, really is fascinating.
Two under the radar: Ricky Rudd, the former NASCAR driver,
Right.
and then of course Curtis Strange, who won the U.S. Open.
Yeah, we could spend the entire hour talking about that.
Exactly, talking to Adam Winkler from News Channel 3. Go ahead and plug all your social media.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. On Twitter, Adam Wink Sports. You can also find me on Facebook, Adam Winkler TV, and then anything you need in terms of TV content, WTKR.com. That's where you can find stories. You can find our live broadcast. You can find my email address. You can find my man Mitch Brown, our weekend sports anchor and reporter. WTKR.com is where you can also find the TV schedule to see when my ugly mug pops up on your tube.
Right, and we've had Stan Garfin, who used to work at Channel 3 for years, and I remember the first time I got a tour of Channel 3 was with Bob Rathman, who worked there as well. Mm-hmm. Bob's now the voice of the Hawks.
Yep.
And, of course, WTAR Radio was there as well.
Yep.
Such an iconic building there on Bush Street.
The first time in my career out of my 4 stops I've been in a building like this, and even in a downtown setting. And I think it's really neat where we are. As you mentioned, it is a very historic building, multiple levels. Sometimes the elevator doesn't work, which reminds you that it's in a very old building. But you mentioned WTAR. We've got the hallway that kind of leads into the studio has the history of the station, has some old pictures, some old drawings, and it's neat to walk those halls and just remind you that, as you know, this business, media in general, has changed so much over the years. So it's neat to get a glimpse of how it started and know that you're in the same hallway.
And your receptionist has worked there for a long time.
Miss Mary Cherry, she has been there forever, and she takes good care of our building.
Yes, she does. Absolutely. Talking to Adam Winkler from News Channel 3. We're live right here. This is Sports Scene. You can connect on several platforms, 1650 AM, 92.5 FM, tunein.com. Type in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer. The show will be archived on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube later this evening as well. Well, as far as sports has changed, you mentioned that. So is attendance, and so is the attention span. Baseball, you got a Houston Astros cap on. The young people under, let's say, 30 really don't have the attention span, don't understand the appreciation for baseball. Let's face it, they can last 3 to 4 hours long. If they go into extra innings, forget about it, especially on a school night. You got to wonder, looking back, who invented 162 games of anything?
that run from spring training in February, that the World Series can go into November. And baseball is my passion. It's always been my number one sport. I played college baseball. I grew up going to Astros games in Houston. So it kind of irks me when people say, "Oh, I don't know how you can sit through a baseball game," because it's beautiful to me. But I also can sit down on the second Sunday in April and watch 6 hours of Masters coverage too. And some people think that would be just torture. But I understand that. I understand that we are in the 140 character generation, and you have to find something to keep that attention span. And baseball is going to great lengths to try and shorten the game and make it more fan-friendly. You're seeing the same thing with the NFL. I mean, you're a part of the NFL broadcast.
Yeah.
The break structure has completely changed to cater to the lack of attention span.
Right. When you have a broadcast on television, like you said, even with the game we're working this weekend with Fox, the Nationals and the Dodgers, that 1 o'clock window all of a sudden becomes 1:05, and then it overlaps into 4 o'clock, and then they try to fit a window in of college football afterwards, and sometimes that can be really difficult.
And you have to have so many different ways to cater to the folks. I mean, you've seen it during the breaks. They're pitching the Facebook page. They're pitching Twitter interaction. The Astros broadcast on Tuesday nights, it's a Twitter Tuesday. You're almost inviting the folks on your phone to try and, oh, hey, pay attention to this broadcast, because we know you're paying more attention to your small screen than you are to the big screen. So they're trying to grasp those viewers in that way, almost admitting that, hey, we're going to feed this beast and just see if it works.
And you see the Astros, they had a bad year a few years ago, totally evolved. Let me tell you an interesting story. Bill Brown, who was the voice of the Astros for years, back in the day, in the 80s, he did FNN Score back in Los Angeles, and I was one of his callers on a national show. That guy's been in the business for a long time, real easygoing, calm, like a Mr. Rogers type broadcaster.
He retired. He'll still do some games this year, but 2 years ago he wrote a book basically about his history and about the Astros history, and through Julia Morales, one of my good friends who's the Astros sideline reporter, was able to get Bill Brown to sign the book for my dad, gave it to my dad for Father's Day. Brownie's great. I grew up listening to Brownie. Milo Hamilton was the voice of my youth, calling the Astros games on the radio, and of course many folks know Milo Hamilton because he was the voice of Henry Aaron's record-breaking home run. So Brownie's great, and I did not know about the FNN history about Brownie. I'm glad that you have a Brownie connection.
Yes, bring that up to him sometime if you ever talk to him. We're talking to Adam Winkler here. All right, the Redskins summer coverage, that was a lot of fun, but of course that can also be like a Christmas gift without nothing in the box, meaning that preseason means literally nothing. Losing focus from where you're at in Richmond to where you play at and practice the routine, because football is so routine oriented. Your days off and everything becomes a big deal. This was year 5 of them in Richmond. I know Richmond wants them there, but the Redskins are not a perennial playoff team, and they've got issues right now. The game definitely on Sunday showed they've got a lot of issues when their quarterback has to do too much running.
You have to win a game like that if you're going to make the playoffs in this division. You're playing a 1 o'clock game at home against the Eagles, divisional game. You can't lose that game and expect to make a run. I realize that there are 15 more weeks, but I feel like it's going to be a tough go. I think it's going to be rough sledding. I think some of the issues that we saw during the preseason that people kind of brushed off, because it's preseason, that's why the offensive line isn't blowing people off the ball. No, that was a huge problem. Kirk Cousins is your leading rusher with 30 yards. That shouldn't happen. The drop passes, the defense not getting off the field on third down. I just feel like if you can't find a way to win that game, and they did. They had a chance to win that game, and it wasn't because of the official. I don't think it was the correct call, fumble, interception on that final drive. But you know what? If Cousins doesn't throw that interception on third down from the 18-yard line, they kick the field goal to take the lead. We're not talking about them needing to drive the length of the field to score a touchdown to win the game. So I feel like I picked them to go 6-10 before the season started. I don't see how they're going to find a way to get at 500, above 500. You can't – look at the schedule. Best case scenario, they split those NFC East games now. That means you're going to have to pick one off on the road. Who are you going to beat on the road? The Eagles on Monday Night Football? The Cowboys on Thursday Night Football? The Giants Week 17 on New Year's Eve in New York? I think it's going to be tough.
And not to mention they go to play the Rams this week, who couldn't score at all last year. Now all of a sudden they're a scoring machine with one of their former coaches.
And Sean McVay, who is an offensive wizard, that's why he is the youngest head coach in NFL history. You don't think he knows the ins and the outs of that offense? You don't think he knows the weaknesses? You don't think he knows what run blocking scheme doesn't work as well that the Redskins probably aren't going to trot out there on Sunday afternoon? And can you imagine the Redskins brass, if it happens Sunday, watching the young offensive wizard, their former offensive coordinator, Sean McVay, beat Jay Gruden?
That will be
Kirk Cousins.
Snyder will have a conniption fit. And people criticize Snyder. He owned the station I used to work at. He owned several businesses. He was in his 30s, your age basically, when he owned the Redskins in the beginning. Imagine Adam Winkler walking around with $1 billion in his back pocket.
I cannot imagine that.
Yeah, but most men, we don't mature till we're about 40. You'll find that out a little bit later.
I look forward to it.
Yes, talking to Adam Winkler from News Channel 3. And Adam, but there are some issues there. And not to mention, when you listen to talk radio on the way back from a game, as you know, it can be brutal. They're already calling for Cousins to go. Not to mention, they haven't said nothing about the coach yet, but that could be coming too. This year he has to make the playoffs. Your thoughts too on what needs to happen also with the Houston NFL team as well.
Well,
they're having issues.
They are, and I don't understand how you can think your quarterback position is settled when it's Tom Savage. There's a reason the Texans traded up to get Deshaun Watson out of Clemson, defending national champion. I thought that was a fantastic move. The Texans have needed a quarterback ever since J.J. Watt burst onto the scene. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Ryan Mallett, Brian Hoyer. These are just jags, just dudes there isn't a college football team or a pro football team that has been successful without a dynamic player at the quarterback position. The Texans need one. I think Deshaun Watson can be that guy. Running him out there Thursday night with 3 tight ends in the concussion protocol who aren't going to play, Dwayne Brown, Virginia native, holding out to get more money, your left tackle, they're going to get Deshaun Watson killed. And the Texans will struggle until they shore up that offensive line to allow for Deshaun Watson to be a dynamic quarterback. And if he's not a dynamic quarterback, it's going to be the same issues that they've had for the past 5-6 years.
And what you always see, the defense is always ahead of the offense. Yep. But the first 2 or 3 games, sustaining 60 minutes of energy, the Redskins look flat the entire game because most of the players don't play in the preseason for 60 minutes. They'll play in that third game, but sparingly. They're not giving 110%. And to expect a rookie quarterback, even though he won a championship, to perform on that stage, that in a short rest period, that's tough.
It's the same issue that the Redskins have. The Texans lost a divisional game at home to the Jaguars. You are going to have to win a game you aren't supposed to win in order to get back to level ground. It's like a playoff series. When a team beats you on your home court or your home field, you've got to go into a place you're not supposed to win to just get back on level ground. So the Texans losing that opener to the Jaguars at home, it doesn't bode well, and I'm excited as a Texans fan to see what Deshaun Watson can do Thursday night. But Cincinnati also looked real bad in their opener, and they're back at home, and they've got a pretty decent front seven that is going to put a lot of pressure on Watson. So we'll see. Doesn't look good.
Good thing one of those 2 teams will get a win. You hope, unless it's a tie.
And hey, we've seen the Bengals tie before just last year in London.
Yeah, talking to Adam Winkler from News Channel 3, you have an Astros cap one. To me, when you see the Astros, you still think of their Cardinal series or the Philly series. It just seems strange that they're in the American League. I know they've had a great year, but how is that perceived by the Houstonians?
We still hate it. We still hate Bud Selig is a curse word in Houston, and it all started with the hurricane 2009 when they moved the Astros-Cubs games to Milwaukee, of all places. Carlos Zambrano throws a no-hitter, helps keep the Astros out of the playoffs. Bud Selig, of course, with his Brewers ties, he was the one who made that call. And then the decision to move the Astros to the American League. It was just terrible timing. The next team that was going to be up for sale was going to move from the National League to the American League. It just happened to be the Astros. We don't like it, but in a way, we've gotten used to it now. Selfishly, I think it's great because being in the AL West, playing so many games in Seattle, in Anaheim, in Oakland, when I get off work at 11:45, Astros are in the 4th or 5th inning. Last night I got to watch Verlander, throw his final 4 innings because the game started at 10:05 our time. So it's still weird. I don't love the DH. I'm a traditionalist. I grew up on National League Baseball. I grew up on those rivalries with the Cubs and the Cardinals in the NL Central and back in the day in the NL West. But I'm kind of glad that we are having some success now in the American League. Listen to me saying we. I'm breaking the cardinal
That's
rule
right.
of sports reporters saying we, but I don't think I'm going to offend anybody being an Astros fan in these
Your
parts.
Houston fans will listen and tune in right now.
There we go.
All right, final few moments with Adam Winkler right here. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us live right here at 12:29. All presented by GJBTV.com. Old Dominion football, kind of a couple games, a little shaky. They weren't playing powerhouse teams by no means. Now they are.
North Carolina coming in, and I don't think we are overstating it when we say this is the most anticipated, the biggest home game in program history. I mean, you're bringing an ACC foe in. Yeah, I realize NC State was in here in 2015, but North Carolina's got a brand. NC State doesn't have the cachet that that Carolina Blue has, and it's a huge opportunity for Old Dominion. The line opened up at 7. An ACC team coming into your yard, a group of 5 team, and you're only 7-point underdogs. I think that is a massive opportunity for Old Dominion. I wish the Monarchs weren't struggling with the injuries that they are. Losing Jonathan Duhart, he's been their touchdown maker the past couple years. Ray Lowry might not be 100%. Melvin Vaughn, the other receiver, that's going to be a little bit of an issue. I want to see the Monarchs at full strength taking on this North Carolina team that we've seen is very vulnerable on the defensive end. I think ODU has a shot against North Carolina. And if they can find a way to beat the Tar Heels, that will be a national story.
But here's the thing. Carolina's 0-2.
Yep.
And they're not – I'm sure they're having a bus ride here probably. They're going to be stewing all week, and they don't care who – they don't even know who Old Dominion really is. All they know is they need a win.
And the fact that North Carolina beat ODU 80-20.
And Old Dominion quit during the game.
In 2013 – that might be into ODU's favor because the Tar Heels might be looking at that. While there's not, I think there's 3 guys on the ODU roster that were here. There's probably not a ton on that North Carolina roster, but you know how it works. Just the fact that, hey, we skunked these guys by 60 just a couple years ago. This can get us back in the win column. Just the slightest bit of overlooking by UNC will really help ODU out. It's just a great opportunity. I hope we see a good game. I hope the fans are able to be a part of it, and it is a back and forth battle for a little bit, and it's not lopsided early, because I think it can be some really good entertainment if this is a close game in the third quarter and the fourth quarter.
Very good. So when can people watch you, of course? Talk about all the newscasts on Channel 3 and also the other channel.
We do news from 4 to 6:30 on Channel 3. Of course, we've got a morning show. We've got a noon show. Sports is in the morning show as well. You can see My Ugly Mug, News 3 at 6 p.m. We also do a 10 p.m. broadcast on WGNT. We do sports at 10:23 on WGNT, and then of course News 3 at 11 o'clock. You can see me pop up at 11:25, and again, WTKR.com is the one-stop shop for all of our content.
Are you still as excited about sports when you're with your family? You kind of put it away because it can consume you, and you have to have a life. You mentioned your dog, but your hobbies outside of it. I'm all involved when I'm in, but I'm all out when I'm out. And you have to be to stay fresh. A lot of fans don't understand. We have to constantly reset ourselves.
And that is, I've got a wonderful wife, a very understanding wife. And very early on in our relationship, she realized that I'm going to miss weddings and birthdays and showers. And my promise to her that she kind of started is, the day that I am no longer 100% committed to what I'm doing and that this is no longer as a passion, it's not worth missing all of that other stuff. So she understands that this is all I've ever wanted to do. I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player, but the good Lord made me 5'10" and a Division III right fielder as opposed to a Major League prospect. So this is all I've ever wanted to do. I am as passionate about it now as I was when I first got into the business in July of 2004. But through my relationship with her and through maturing a little bit, I have to check out. This is the first time I've ever had weekends off. I obviously work Sundays during football season. I'll work this Saturday for the ODU North Carolina game. But when I do have weekends off, while I just want to sit around and watch College Game Day and watch college football from noon to 11 p.m., there needs to be family time. And she allows me to miss so much that on the days that I am not working, I do need to stay off my phone. And I do need to, not sit there and watch 11 hours of football. She will watch an Astros game with me. The Astros are far and away our number one team, and she understands that this has a chance to be a magical year. But you hit the nail on the head. There has to be a little bit of checkout for
for all parties.
Exactly to keep me happy at home, and because if she's happy, we're all happy.
All right, leave us with a final thought, of course, and plug anything you want.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me in. Adam Wink Sports is the Twitter account, and look forward to reporting some stories with the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame. That's kind of how we got connected. I know I've
and
not
Matt Sensala.
And Matt Sensala, who is doing wonderful things in Washington, D.C. I appreciate you giving media folks the chance to toot our own horn. Everybody thinks that we have egos, and we do, but it is nice to be recognized every now and then. So thanks for giving us the outlet to do it, and look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Keep up the good work. Because last thing was, for a while, Channel 3 did not have sports till you got there.
That is why they brought me back. Our news director and our general manager decided to bring sports back, because Ted Alexander, when he left Channel 3 to go to ODU, there was no dedicated local newscast, dedicated local sportscast, rather. So we brought Mitch in to build the brand, and I'm very, very proud of the progress that we've been making in a year plus.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks, Greg.
Safe travels. Have a good rest of the week.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.
All right. Adam Winkler right there from News Channel 3, offering some great insight to what he does behind the scenes, and it takes a total team effort to get it done at News Channel 3. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Email bicogb@hotmail.com. Now back to Greg Bicouvaris in the Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com studios. It's now time for Greg's Highlights, presented by Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com.
And want to thank Adam Winkler from News Channel 3 for joining us on Sports Scene. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us. George McClain will join us in just a moment, of course, and GJBTV.com, as well as Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com and HRSMHOF.com. That's the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame. Thank you to Adam Winkler and News Channel 3, as well as Channel 10 and the Daily Press for all their great coverage of that as well. So, of course, Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com for you locals and tourists. Great place to browse, shop, and visit. High school football on TV tonight at 7 o'clock, Bethel and Menchville, as well as Friday, an encore of last week's game in which Bethel won on Cox Cable 47, 517 in Newport News and NNPSTV.com. Speaking of the Peninsula and Newport News, let's welcome our regular monthly guest, George McClain, owner, general manager, firearms instructor of the Marksman. How are you, George?
I'm doing fine, Greg. How are you today?
Good to hear you on this beautiful day in September. So our focus today is hunting season. I guess it's getting closer. Talk about what that means for the Marksman to get ready.
Well, very true. It'll be coming up here, of course, the largest, I guess, biggest season for everyone is deer season. And, for us, obviously we want to make sure we're, stocked or have on hand or able to get most of the types of rifles that the hunters will look, but also to emphasize, focus on safety, while they're out in the woods.
Well, let's talk about it, too, as far as what can they learn, a beginner or newcomer, now that we've gotten back into school, back into our daily routines of life, as far as a first-time firearms person. What should they do when they first walk into your door? Who should they contact?
You want to speak to someone at the counter. They'll, everyone that we have in there are properly trained to answer most of the questions. If it's something that, instructor needs to get involved in, then they'll be the one to go and fetch the instructor, get them up there. If it's someone who's wanting to schedule training, we've got our training coordinator that handles that. So she'll come out of her office and ask you a few questions about what your background is, if you have any experience at all, or where you're going to be starting, because we gear the instruction obviously around the student. We do start everyone at the fundamentals, and we go over that just to make sure that everyone has a proper understanding before we can go forward. But the rest of the lesson is based upon the experience of the student, whether that is zero or whether that's intermediate or whether they're advanced and you'll want to go further above that.
A lot of responsibility when you go hunting, and let's talk about that too, the proper attire, safety when you're out on the woods, wherever you might be, not only with the gun that you're holding, but the people that in your party and your entire area. How do you know it's a safe, free zone for the most part, George, based on your experiences in West Virginia and Virginia, when you're hunting, that you have the proper field and terrain to hunt?
Well, it's incumbent upon the hunter to know the territory he's going to be hunting in, and to make sure he's got permission from the landowner to hunt on that property to start with. And then at the same time that you're securing permission to hunt, you can also, it would be a fine time to ask, are there any other hunters that we need to be aware of that you've given permission to hunt? So all of this can change, but you don't go into the woods without that certain minimum level of knowledge. And then to make sure that the hunters in your party all have blaze horns, and that you've got some training and experience. We back in the old days would see people go out. Fathers may take their sons with very, very little training, other than watch what I do, son, and don't go shooting at something unless you know what it is. But that doesn't prevent accidents from over anxious kids, or almost every year we hear of news reports where a hunter has inadvertently shot another hunter because they didn't they weren't aware of their target. They see something moving. They assume it's a deer, and they take a shot. You've got to positively identify your target. If
Right.
you cannot positively identify it, don't take the shot.
Absolutely. That's somebody's life involved. We're talking to George McClain. Folks, you got to check it out. He's the owner, general manager, firearms instructor at the Marksman, 520 Industrial Park Drive, very convenient in Newport News. Right there, indoor shooting range, firearm sales, professional training, open 7 days a week. Google the Marksman. You'll see it, Newport News as well. And you got a great staff there as well. And that's the first thing people see is your staff when they walk into your showroom.
That's correct. So the way the showroom is divided up, when you walk in the door, we've got the retail section on the left and the range check-in area on the right. Either one of those, two folks, if you've got something different, if you want to talk about training, just ask them if they can get you the training coordinator. She's usually in her office on the telephone scheduling everything, but she'll drop what she's doing and come right out and take care of you, see what your questions you may have for training and the other classes that we have, and pretty much take care of you. Our goal is that no one leaves us unsatisfied.
All powered by the Criminal Justice Security Institute as well. And you sell a lot of products there, including ammunition, guns. Tell us everything you sell as well.
Well, pretty much anything to do with shooting, whether we can get apparel, all your shooting accessories, whether it's ammo, gun sights, targets, slings. Going into the hunting season, most of that is and should be long guns, and so we stock long gun ammunition as well. That can be anything from the 22 long rifle up to the big bore stuff for big deer, and we've had guys come in with the big guns taking trips to Alaska for the big game. So there's nothing that we can't get if we don't have it in stock. We're fairly small, family run business, so it's sometimes it's a little restrictive on us to where we can't stock 100% of everything that's out there, but we can certainly get anything that we don't have stocked. So, we would love for you to, come in, check us out, and, let us give you an opportunity to help you.
How much space do you have in the indoor shooting range? How much separation in the bays for the actual shooters?
Well, we have 8 lanes, and they're probably right in that between 3 and 4 foot where the shooting position is, about 3 to 4 feet for each lane. So there's usually room for you can get 2 shooters in there at the same time if it's a father-son, or 2 buddies, and one's giving the other one instruction, or a husband and wife, and he's teaching her how to shoot. So there's room for a couple to stand, pretty much side by side, or certainly the shooter up front and someone standing kind of behind and to the side, talking over the shoulder, into the ear, doing the coaching, what they need to do. So it's fairly comfortable.
All right. And, of course, Military Mondays, First Responder Fridays. George, all the best to you. And, of course, the phone number 872-4130. Folks, Google the Marksman Newport News for all of your time, your talent, your treasure, George. Thank you for what you do with the community.
Thank you very much, Greg. I appreciate it, and everybody stay safe out there.
My pleasure. George McClain right there, folks, the owner, general manager, firearms instructor of the Marksman in Newport News. It's lunchtime right now, and Panera is the only nationwide chain that they can say 100% of their menu is 100% clean. Of course, located at 6255 College Drive in the Harborview section of Suffolk. They have great soups, sandwiches, salads, desserts, breakfast, beverages, bagels, smoothies, something for everyone. Food as it should be at Panera Bread. Phone number again, 483-3670 at 6255 College Drive in Suffolk. For more, log on to PaneraBread.com. Sports Scene will continue after these messages right here. It is 1247 right here on 1650 and 92.5.
You are listening to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris. Now, back to Greg.
And welcome back to Sports Scene, all presented by CP Shuckers. Eat or be eaten at CP Shuckers. Great place to watch the NFL, college football, NASCAR, Major League Baseball. Like both locations on Facebook, log on to cpshuckers.com and visit their Shore Drive, Pacific Avenue location for lunch, dinner, and late night. How are you, Rick Brennan?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me on.
Very good. You got a history here at the radio station. Of course, talk about Remnant Radio.
No, Remnant Radio is on the Christian station, WPMH. We're on every day from 4 o'clock to 4:30, Monday to Friday, with different topics on health, religion, religious liberty. And
that's good because sometimes in this fast-paced world, we all need to slow down and kind of refocus.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that's coming up now is the anniversary, the 500th year of the Reformation. And a lot of Christian denominations are breaking away and going back to the Vatican and ecumenism, but Seventh-day Adventists were still Protestants, and we look at the Bible as the way to go. What it says, we do. That's why we keep the seventh-day Sabbath. Another thing is what's going to happen when the laws change. And people want the seventh day as a rest day. This is happening in Germany and other countries. They're getting it passed as legislation to have Sunday off. What's going to happen to sports? Are they going to be still playing NFL, NHL, NBA, baseball on Sundays?
And that's a great point. A lot of people are tuning away from sports because of the national anthem and religion as well. But without it, where are they going to go anywhere? Where are they getting their strength from?
As religious people, you're supposed to be getting your strength from God and believing in what He says, and what happens to you is a result of what you believe.
But how about
good
these
or bad,
athletes?
it's a result of what you believe.
But how about these athletes that continue to kneel during the national anthem? Your thoughts on that?
Well, that's up to the owners. I mean, if they decide that it's not good for they're working for them, and they want to get down and kneel, then they can get down and kneel. But if it puts up a problem, like with Kaepernick, which came more than a religion, it got into politics, and I think that was worse than what who was that quarterback on Denver who kneeled down when?
Well, not to mention too about Kaepernick, he's still young, and of course he's not even playing.
Tebow, yeah.
Yeah, Tebow, of course, he's working for ESPN. He also plays baseball. But you see how that religion or, just nonconformist, that can affect your paycheck.
It can. But, you have to pick sides here. There are sides. There's God's side, and then there's the world side.
Right.
If you pick God's side, then you're going to do what it says in the Bible, and there's lots in the Bible.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways around it too. Go ahead and plug any type of social media websites that you want to promote, and something that people can look forward to in 100.1 on your station.
Okay, we can. You go to our website, remnant-radio.org. We have a lot of stuff on there. You can get Bible studies. You can read up on books that we have on PDFs. You can look for our links to other websites, and we'd like to help each other in that sense. Helping others understand what we're about is why we're on the air.
Very good. Well, keep up the good work you've sustained for a long time. That's very important. All the best to you and the Remnant Radio family. You can see their link on HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com and continue with your great time, talent, and treasure as well, Rick.
Well, thanks very much, and I appreciate your show and where it's going. I listen to it, and it's good.
Thank you. We'll get you back on again soon to get your philosophy on sports and life.
Okay, great.
Very good. All right, Rick Brennan right there from 100.1. Let's get to what tees me off in just a second. Right here, all brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings and Newport News. Give them a call at 249-3999. They're located right next to Patrick Henry Mall in Jefferson Avenue, 12150 Jefferson Avenue. And, of course, delicious lunch and dinner, great specials for lunch, great street tacos, all the best boneless traditional wings. They got excellent salads, burgers, wraps, and sandwiches, and desserts at Buffalo Wild Wings in Newport News, open for lunch, dinner, your NFL headquarters, and all things sports, wall-to-wall TVs. For more, go to Wings, Beer, and Sports right there as well at Buffalo Wild Wings, all over social media too as well. Question for the day for Joe Daniel, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings as well. When you and the family go out, specifically you, do you experiment with the menu, or you pretty much order the same thing?
We are, I guess, an adventurous family. Every time we go out to eat, even if it's a restaurant that we've been to 10, 15 times, we always try to get something different that's on the menu. Always try a variety. I've heard of some couples where the wife might say, hey, I'm wanting to pick something up. What do you want? And the husband just says, wherever you go, you know what I want.
because they always order the same thing. I'm not like that. I like to get a little variety. I like to try the pasta. I like to try the steak, the chicken, the burritos or whatever. I like to have variety.
All right, but no buffet for Joe Daniel. All right, Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville, 1255 Fordham Drive. Bold seasonings, great lunch and dinner, steaks, burgers, excellent salads, desserts, perfect for a birthday party as well. Open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Great place to dine in or do carry out with the family. Great place to get your burgers and steaks before the big football game. Open 7 days a week, 1255 Fordham Drive in Virginia Beach. Give them a call at 523-4832. That's 523-4832. The Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville in Virginia Beach. Clean, nice, spacious, great dining area, delicious food. Go by and see Mike and the friendly staff at Outback Steakhouse. What tees me off?
What tees you off? Presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
All right, I think we got Paulie on the line. We're going to save him a minute toward the end. He kind of called out of the blue. Paulie, we'll get you back on in the future, too. All right, what tees me off real quick? Ripped jeans. I mean, when did they become in style when you see somebody on TV with holy jeans on their knees?
Yeah, it's the I don't think it's the latest. It's been in style for a while, but yeah, I understand. The torn up jeans where it looks like you've taken a cheese grater right to it. I don't understand it. I don't wear holes in my jeans. I like my jeans a solid sheet of denim.
Or holes in your pants for that matter.
Right.
All right, how about people you're driving at night and it's like early in the morning and they got the headlights right on you, right behind you?
Those, what are they called, halogen lights?
Or just
those
the
are
headlights.
super bright,
Yeah.
and it's just super clear. Yeah, that's horrible. And it's always like this giant diesel truck where it's just hitting immediately directly into your rearview mirror.
All right, people who throw religion in your face, look, I believe in God and faith, but like to each his own. Don't throw it in somebody's face.
Yeah, the pressure, you know,
Yes.
the guy who's on the bullhorn. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe lay off a bit a little bit. You know, don't lay it on so thick.
How about this? You and I are having a conversation with somebody at a social event, and somebody always comes up and interrupts.
Yeah, or interrupts, but joins in the conversation as if they've been there the entire time.
Like, get out. We don't want to see you.
It's kind of awkward.
All right, how about this? Public bathrooms and hotel lobbies where they have like one bathroom and the door doesn't lock.
Yeah, or there's like a 3-inch gap between the door and the post or something like that, where you can clearly see into the stall. I think in the Britain or something like that, in England, it's like a closet. There's total privacy. It's near soundproof. I think we need to incorporate that into America.
What else tees me off? People with the erratic mood swings that change all the time.
Yeah, consistency. You kind of, I would implement getting them a mood ring, so you can at least look at the color and anticipate how they're feeling.
Speaking of which, working with people you would never socialize with.
Yeah.
All right, let's get I think we got Paulie on the line right now.
Yes, we do.
Paulie, what's up, buddy? Paulie,
hey, how you doing?
Been a while. You caught out of the blue. You need to call more often, my friend. A little bit earlier. How are you?
I'm doing well, brother. How you doing?
Good,
man. I just thought about you. I said, you know what? Let me call my man Vic.
The only show remaining from the game. You know that, my friend.
Hey, you know it, man. How you been doing?
Good. What about those Skins off to a 0-1 start? Now they got to play the Rams. Your thoughts on that?
Off to their usual start.
Yeah.
You know, under Gruden, off to their usual 0-1 start. Hey, man, it's going to be a tough game against the Rams, man. You got McVay over there. You know, he pretty much knows the offense. Mm-hmm. You got, what's my man, Wade Phillips. You know, he got a grudge to burn against Jay Gruden. And, hey, man, I don't know, man. Looking pretty bleak. Hey, Vegas seems to think they're a 2-point underdog, and there's a lot of building in Vegas, so, you know, they pretty much know what they're talking about half the time. So, man, I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to sit back and watch what's going on because I've seen this coming from the jump. I said in the offseason that the Redskins is going to cut off their nose despite their face with getting rid of D-Jax and Garcon. Yeah, pretty much that's what's happening right now.
Well, I hear you calling DC Radio. Call back again, my friend, a little bit sooner, and have a great rest of the day. Let's hope Ice Cube and Snoop don't rap about the Skin Sunday.
Hey, man, you have a good day,
you too.
Hey, Vic.
Yeah.
Hail to the Reds.
Very good, my friend. All right, there it is. One of my old listeners from the game calling in. Paulie, want to thank Adam Winkler as well as our excellent guest today, George McClain, and, of course, Rick Brennan from Remnant Radio. Also want to thank Joe Daniel and all our great sponsors. For more, go to gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link. I'm Greg Bicouvaris. Happy Wednesday. We'll talk to you soon.
AM 1650 WHKT Portsmouth, 92.5 FM W223CT Norfolk. For your daily supply of news and talk, we are The Answer.